If turnbuckles are not an A-list item in the rigging world, then they're a strong B-list item. While not used as widely as slings and shackles, you find them in more places than you might realize. Their primary function is to apply tension by pulling two objects closer together. They accomplish this by having a central body with opposing left and right screws or threads on each end. So let's talk more about the anatomy of a turnbuckle, how to size them correctly, and which end fittings might work best for your application. So the most common types of turnbuckles are jaw and jaw, eye and eye, or jaw and eye. So on the table in front of me, these are eye and eye turnbuckles. This is a jaw and jaw turnbuckle. And of course, a jaw and eye is a combination of the two. So you'll have a jaw on one end and an eye on the other. And we can accomplish that by combining or mixing and matching turnbuckles. That's actually okay to do. So if you have a 1/2x6 jaw and jaw and a 1/2x6 eye and eye, and you want two jaw and eyes, you can simply swap fittings between the two of them to accomplish that. So one reason eyes and jaws are most popular is they're the strongest option. So when you look at them, you're applying tension to essentially a closed loop, whether it's the jaw or clevis fitting with the pin or a closed eye versus a hook like this one, which is open. It's easier to tip load the hook, and it's easier to pull that hook downward with over pressure or too much force versus, again, a closed loop like an eye or a jaw fitting. Now, if you're talking about Crosby, which is a very big domestic hardware manufacturer, their popular models are going to be the HG226 for eye and eye, the 227 for jaw and eye, or the 228 for jaw and jaw. They do offer hook-style turnbuckles, and other manufacturers do as well. Crosby categorizes those as the HG223. They are, again, inherently weaker due to their open loop hook design. So the most common turnbuckles that we sell are full-size turnbuckles. They're generally hot dip galvanized for use in the field, resistance to corrosion, and they're made for heavy-duty uses. And you can choose from imported turnbuckles with similar specs and ratings at a much lower price compared to domestic options from Crosby or Chicago. Now, depending upon your application, you may need USA product, but it could be overkill for a basic installation. We also offer small turnbuckles like the one on the table in front of me that are made with aluminum bodies and zinc-plated fittings on the end. They have working load limits below 100 pounds. They also go higher than that, but the point is you can have these really, really small or a little bit larger, but no matter what, they're made for light-duty application. So never use these in a lift or any critical application. Ask yourself, were this to fail, what are the consequences? If you're using it for a dog run or a clothesline, the consequences are pretty low. If you're using it for bracing on your gate, again, consequences are pretty low. So apply these in light-duty applications only. Let's talk about how to size and use a turnbuckle. So a very popular term is take-up. And that's really the most important factor for a lot of our customers when they're thinking about the size of turnbuckle they need. And really what take-up is the inside length of the body. So a turnbuckle is comprised of two end fittings. So in this example, we have a jaw and a jaw, and then we have this central body. And these threads will come all the way out or all the way in until they meet each other. So this inside length is your take-up. When you have these threaded all the way out, these end fittings all the way out, you have 6 inches of take-up in this model. However, this might not be practical for your application. So what we tell customers is consider the take-up and cut it in half, because sometimes you need room to go in or out. This turnbuckle is threaded halfway out. So if you install this in line with wire rope or a similar product, then you can technically tighten or you can lengthen as needed. So that's a really important thing to consider, that just because you have 6 inches of take-up doesn't mean that you'll be able to use all 6 inches in your application. So I've referenced take-up, which is a really important call out. Let's also talk about thread diameter. So when you're talking about the size or the nominal size of a turnbuckle, it's generally called out as something like 1/2x6, 1/2x9, 5/8x6, 5/8x9. So the first dimension is referring to the actual threads on the fittings. So in this example, we have 3/8 and then we have 5/8 and even up to 1 inch. Now the length really doesn't dictate anything on the strength. So the thread diameter is what is going to dictate the working load limit or the strength of your turnbuckle. And then the second number, again being the take-up, will determine the length on the inside of this body. And again, if you start all the way out, you might have a full 9 inches or 12 inches of take-up, but you might have to cut that number in half if you need adjustment going both directions. On the table, it's also kind of evident, right, how different these turnbuckles are in terms of size. So when you look at the 3/8 turnbuckle, you can see in terms of scale and size, it is way smaller than even a 5/8 or a 1 inch. This 1-inch turnbuckle looks really big on the table, but they come much larger as well. The largest turnbuckles that we see in the field go all the way up to 2 3/4 inch. And just think about, that's more than double the size of this turnbuckle right here. So when you're sizing a turnbuckle, don't go for overkill, just assuming that you need larger. Look at the load ratings and then factor in the type of wire rope or cabling system that you're going to connect them to, and base your decision on the strength and then the take up that you need. So I referenced the turnbuckle all the way up to 2 3/4 inches in diameter. And again, that's a really large turnbuckle. It weighs about 199 pounds. And that's really a small point worth making. Pay attention to the specs that we provide on the site, both the strength, dimensions, and the item weight. So if you're wondering how large an item is, it helps to look at the weight of the item. Maybe you think it's relatively small and fits easily in your hand, but then you see the spec or the item weight is actually 150 pounds. Again, we realize that on a website, it's hard to look at flat images and determine scale. So looking at the item weight can really help. So a few extra notes on jaw fittings. For sizes 5/8 and lower, they are generally outfitted, as this one is, with a bolt, nut, and cotter key. Once you get above 5/8, they switch over to just a cotter key. Now with eye, jaw and eye, and jaw turnbuckles, they're usually available in all the same sizes. So if you need an eye or a jaw, and you look at the charts from Crosby, for example, the same turnbuckle is available in all different thread diameters and also take-ups. So you have a lot of options because, again, those are the most common end fittings that we sell. When you look at hook and hook or hook and eye, there's not as many options and they don't get as big or as strong. Additionally, jam nuts can be had. So if you need to install a nut on the turnbuckle between the fitting and the body to retain the position of this eye so that it doesn't move, those are available as well. Crosby offers them, as does Chicago. Of course, you can source your own probably from a local hardware store. Just know that that is an option if you need to retain the position of your turnbuckle. They can be used in overhead lifting, which is kind of a common misconception. Just make sure that they're tensioned in line and that you don't shock load them. So earlier we referenced imported turnbuckles versus USA turnbuckles, and we'll just say that performance differences between import and domestic can be negligible. But again, there are applications where only USA products are accepted, and we certainly understand that. If you're using these in a low-risk application, imported turnbuckles are generally a great option due to the lower cost. So now you're armed with the knowledge you need to plan and shop for turnbuckles for your upcoming project. We realize this video might not have answered all of your questions, so please reach out to us if we can help further. You can reach us via live chat at lifting.com or visit the Contact Us page and fill out the form or locate a branch nearest you. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like this video, leave a comment, and share the video. Help us grow the channel so we can keep putting out informative content like this in the future.